So thank you all. Now, thank you. Now, I would ask you, we need that same type of prayer this time. This is a tough battle. I could go into detail about the auditor's race. For those who want to check online, MikeHarmon.com. I tell everybody, if you have a hard time, just remember the actor Mark Harmon. He's a lot better looking than I am, but cut that Mark off and put Mike in front of it, MikeHarmon.com. But I'm telling you, the pensions are a big issue. If you look at the old stats, we're $33 billion underfunded. If you look at the new accounting standards, we're anywhere from $41 to $43 billion in unfunded liabilities. I will tell you there was a big push, and even my opponent initially said he endorsed it when he was speaking to teachers. But when I challenged him on, he said no, he didn't say that he endorsed the $3.3 billion in bonding. Now, I will tell you, we do need to fix the teachers' pension system. We need to fix the regular retirement system, but you're not going to be able to do it with bonding. About a year and a half ago, KTRS came and they spoke to us, and they said, they actually laid out three options. They actually laid out $3.3 billion, $1.9 billion, and about $600 million a year to fund the art. Well, I asked the question. I don't know if I said it, but I graduated with a triple major in math, statistics, and theater. Tell everybody that way I know the math, I know the stats. What I don't know, I just act like I know. And I said that on KET, and my opponent's people tweeted out, takeaway from tonight, Mike Harmon makes things up. And I felt like I didn't tweet out, but I felt like tweeting back, no, takeaway from tonight, some people, liberals, have no sense of humor whatsoever. But so I asked the question. I asked a simple question. I said, well, if we bond this $3.3 billion, and of course they had just got through telling us the biggest problem we had was 13 years of flat investment. And I asked them, I said, well, if we bond this, we put that in the teacher's retirement system and the markets tank again, what happens? And the only answer I got was, we don't foresee that. I thought, we don't foresee that? That's just crazy. Because, if we bond, we put it in there and the markets tank, we're still got the bond, but we still have the responsibility too. So we got both instead of just one. So as many of you know, the Speaker Stumbo decided to roll with the $3.3 billion bonding. They put that, the House passed it out. I voted against it. Many of us voted against it. Went to the Senate. The Senate tapped the brakes on it, thankfully. But what doesn't get heard a lot is close to the end of session, a handful of us legislators got with KTRS, and we basically asked them the question. We asked them this question. We said, do you still think the markets look good? At that time, they said, no, we now think they're going to be flat for about 2 years. I said, well, do you still want the money, the bonding? They said, yeah, we'd still like the bonding. And I asked, well, what were you going to do with it? They said, well, we think we'll invest it in T-bills. I said, T-bills? What can you get for T-bills? They said about 2%. Well, I told that to some other old boy, and he said, well, maybe 0.2, but let's just give it to them. Let's say 2%. And they said, well, we're borrowing, and this is, of course, before the markets started to go, before our credit rating got lowered. We're going to be borrowing this if we can even bond it at 4.5%. So are you telling me you would rather that we borrow this at 4.5 and invest in 2? Now I'm going to tell you, my theatrical background might be able to get me to figure out how that's good. But my math and my statistical background just pretty much overrode. So we're going to have to do on our retirement systems, we need to do full performance audits, not surface audits. I know KRS just indicated a couple of weeks ago that, they forgot to mention we had $100 million more in investment fees than what we told. So we need to do a full performance audit on both. That's the diagnosis part. Then we got to figure out what we can fix. Some things we can, some things we can't, some things we shouldn't. And then once we fix it, then we do need to fully fund it. So there's a lot of work ahead of it. But the long point of that, like any good politician, take a short story, make it long. The long point of that is my opponent, when he was talking to teachers, was saying one thing. When he was challenged in public, he was saying something else. So it's very important. But where I was going, and like I said, I chase rabbits, so forgive me. But where I was going with that is, this is an important time. We need your prayers. We need people on the knee praying, because this particular race, not just the auditor's race, but from top to bottom. And I'm so pleased we've got such a great ticket, top to bottom, great Christian individuals that are knowledgeable in the areas, and we represent all parts of states, all ages, old like myself and young like Allison back there. So I am so tickled. But this particular race is going to have impact on this state, not just for the 4 years that we'll be there, not just for the 8 years that they might be there, but this particular race is going to have an impact top to bottom for years to come. So I would ask you, please take the time to pray for each one of us. Please take the time to bathe us in your prayers, bathe us for your protection. Pray that the truth will be seen. You know, they're doing attack ads against me. They're doing attack ads against Whitney. They're doing attack ads against Bevan. And, you know, so my prayer is that people will actually see us for who we truly are. And I think if they do, I think we'll all win. If people believe the lies, we may not. But if people can actually see us for who we are, I think we will win. And then get people to the polls. You know, you be sure you vote and be sure you find 5 or 6 more or 10 more and get them to the polls because turnout will be low. Thank you. We appreciate you. God bless. And if you need anything, just let me know. Thank you and God bless.
Anybody, do they endorse you in this race? Like
I don't know if there was an endorsement in this particular race. You know, basically, if there was, I would assume. See, I always take the time. You know, this issue aside, I've always taken the time to sit down and speak with the KEA. And oddly enough, we usually agree on about 90%, 92%. But what happens is they always get to the one question. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost this bad. And they always ask me, Mike, will you fight with every depth and breadth of your heart and gut to fight school choice no matter what? And I just had to look at them and say, no, I'm a statistician. I've seen what school choice can do for some other areas, you know. So I think it's important. So because of that one issue, I never get their endorsement. So regardless, I still think it's important we protect their retirement because I got a lot of teachers that support me. I even got a lot of retirement teachers, but the general association will never support me. You know, it's kind of funny. I talked to one of our teachers, who was head of the KA in my area, and she was actually, oddly enough, she was a Republican. And she said, Mike, we appreciate everything you do for the teachers, and we appreciate everything that you've done as a state representative. But why do you support school choice? And I explained to her why. And she looked me right in the eye, and it made me half sad. But she said, Mike, if you let parents choose which school to go to, they would never choose our school. And that kind of broke my heart because one, she was wrong. I knew that school, and they were improving, and they were having more parent interaction. But the fact that a teacher in that school believed that saddened me so great because I don't think all our teachers believe it. But the ones that believe it and want to do a good job, they have to fight through all this other stuff to try to do a good job. Thank you. And I'll be honest with you, I'm probably unique as a legislator in that I'm probably one of the few legislators that have actually had experience with kids in homeschooling, kids in private Christian school, and kids in the public school. And I'll be the first to tell you there are strengths and weaknesses in all three.
Okay, that's Mike Harmon running for Auditor of Public Accounts. Our next speaker is Allison Ball, who is running for State Treasurer.
Okay, great. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I've been warned about the mic, so I'm going to try and make this work. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Well, you know, this is important to be here on a Saturday morning when it's cold and rainy because we are 9 days away from election. We are very, very close. And I just appreciate, first thing I want to say to you is I appreciate how much you care about Kentucky, that you get up on a Saturday morning when it's cold and rainy because we are talking about important things. And Kentucky is poised and ready to make some important decisions that could get Kentucky on track. So you are doing the right thing. Thank you for being here. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Some of you I know, but those of you I don't know, I'm Allison Ball. I'm running for Kentucky State Treasurer. I'm from the mountains of eastern Kentucky. I'm from Floyd County, where my family has been for 9 generations, since the 1790s. And when I spoke to the American Family Association back in the primary, I wanted to point out the word family because that's important to all of you, and that is important to me because it's my family that has really made a difference. I may need to stand close to this machine over here, but it's my family that has really made a difference in teaching me the right principles. And I know that's what you have tried to do with your families, and you are trying to do with your families. Like I said, I grew up in eastern Kentucky. I grew up in a small town where we do understand conservative values. My dad, actually, when I was born, was the assistant pastor to Charles Stanley in Atlanta. So my parents taught me great Christian values from the very beginning, and the importance of having a relationship with Jesus, the importance of faith. So I was brought up with that right way of thinking. Of course, grew up in the mountains of Eastern Kentucky, where we appreciate family, we appreciate conservative principles, and that has continued to this day. I like to tell people that I have an appreciation for business, and that is important when you're running for state treasurer. And again, that comes from my family. When I was 9 years old, you're going to try to keep working with this mic. I may have to just project for all of you. When I was 9 years old, I got an allowance. I got $5 a week, $20 a month. I felt like my life was set. I was very comfortable. Things were going exactly the way I wanted to. And true story, when I was 9, my parents took me aside and they said, Allison, we've decided to stop giving you an allowance because giving you an allowance is teaching you an entitlement mentality. You're becoming a socialist and no more allowance. True story really happened. Well, I had a terrible attitude about this. I pouted. I was upset. So I was becoming a socialist. I was entitled. I felt like I was entitled to this money. And eventually it came to the point where I realized my parents were serious. And if I ever wanted to buy toys again or go to the movies or do anything, I was going to have to figure out some way to earn some money. So at 9 years old, I started a business. I started Positive Pencils International. I was thinking very big, and I designed pencils that said different positive sayings like, I'm a winner, believe in yourself, you can do it. I sold them for 25 cents each or $4 for $1. It was a great deal. And that first week, I sold them to everyone I knew. So, if you had been around me that first week, you would have bought at least $1 worth of pencils. I would have made sure of it. And by the end of the week, I made $200. And I thought, oh my goodness, my mom and dad were right. And I tell people that I became a believer in hard work and free enterprise and how business makes a difference in a person's life. It helps the middle class. I mean, even as a kid, I saw this works. This makes a difference. And I owe that to my family, my upbringing, and that training that I had. All those principles have made me who I am today. I currently am a bankruptcy attorney. I practice in the financial field. I practice in Pike County, deep in those mountains. And I tell people that is important because I'm the only one running for treasurer with a financial background. And the job that I do, I think all the time about the consequences of debt, how to get people on sound financial footing, help them make the right decisions. I think about fixing financial problems all the time in the work that I do. And you need that kind of financial background to be the state treasurer. The state treasurer is the chief financial officer of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, the one in charge of the checkbook, in charge of Kentucky's bank account. So you need somebody with a financial background, especially right now, because Kentucky, we've mentioned the pensions. We've mentioned the financial state that Kentucky is in right now. So we need somebody who has an understanding about the consequences of debt and believes in fiscal responsibility. I also was a prosecutor for 4 years, and when you've done that, you learn how to stand up for what's right. You develop a backbone, and you need that kind of background too. You need a financial background, and you need a willingness to stand up for what's right, to be that watchdog on our spending. I want to mention one thing about the office right now that I want you to take away from here because it's important right now. The treasurer sits on the Kentucky Teachers Retirement System Board, and you've already heard about how our teachers' retirement is in trouble. It needs help. So I'm excited about using my financial background. We need somebody who, like I said, believes in fiscal responsibility, believes in fixing problems, not just continuing it, kicking the can on down the road. As a voice on that board, as well as all the other ways the treasurer acts as that watchdog on our spending. So in these next 9 days, not everybody thinks about the treasurer, but there's important things the treasurer can do. Please tell folks that you know, tell your friends, your family, the folks you go to church with, tell them we need conservatives in office. We need the right people in office. And we need a conservative in the state treasurer's office. We need somebody who understands financial matters, who believes in the importance of business, believes in getting our state in good financial footing in that office. So please remember Allison Ball for Kentucky State Treasurer. Thank you for getting up early, being here on a Saturday because this is important. And we need you to help us get the right people in office after these 9 days. Thank you for being here. And I think I'm up for questions with the treasurer's office. Well, I'll tell you what, there is a state auditor because Mike just spoke. And so Mike is running for state auditor. The treasurer and the auditor are counterparts to each other. So the treasurer's job is to check the spending before it's spent, making sure that it's constitutional, that only what is appropriated by the General Assembly is statutorily authorized, goes through. So that's check and balance before it's spent. The auditor afterwards makes sure once the money has been spent, it's going where it's supposed to.
I'll just talk loud. There.
There you go.
Okay.
We can hear you.
What I was wondering, is like, you know, when you're at your home that you have, and the person who comes and, you know, I forgot what they're called.
Maybe the PBA?
The PBA, right.
Yes. That's a very local, that's a local position.
Okay, so the PBA, do they deal anything with the state?
They,
I mean, I know they probably do somehow, but what I was wondering is, do you all ever go and find out, like, the PBAs, certain PBAs that have been in office hasn't really done their jobs? So the reason why I'm saying is because they have my house, a totally different house, and I get taxes on it, and I keep telling them, this is not my house is brick, not vinyl. And I get it it's a whole different house, you know.
That's crazy. The treasurer's office does not deal with the PBA's office.
Right.
So the treasurer would, those.
But does the PBA answer to?
PBA answers to you. PBA answers to you.
Okay. I didn't know if the monies was a part of what you all watch, since it is, the county. I didn't know.
Well, money goes different places. You got county money, and then you do have some state money that goes. So there's actually, it funnels different places.
Okay.
Kentucky, what is our ranking? We're like 47 as far as teachers funding.
It depends on what chart you're looking at, and there's different financial charts. There's one study that has us only above New Jersey and Illinois, which tells you you're in pretty serious financial trouble. The teacher retirement system is only 51% funded. So that tells you it's pretty serious.
So there's room for improvement. You can help us with that.
Oh, there's absolutely room for improvement. And yes, it's one of the reasons why I'm saying you need somebody with a financial background in analytics. I also think it's
important to have somebody who's from outside of the system. Because if we have people that are doing the same thing they've always been doing, well, we're going to keep going down that track that we've been on. And it just keeps getting worse. 14 years ago, the teacher's retirement system was solvent. It is not solvent now. So we've been making decisions. Well, I don't say we, but Kentucky has been making decisions that have led us on the path that we're on. So we do need somebody making different decisions because the ones we're doing right now aren't working. Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning. Like I said, we've got 9 days away. We're very close to getting the right people elected. So I do want to encourage you to talk to people that you know and really get people to understand what people are running for. This is important right now. So thanks for being here.
Okay, our next speaker is Stephen Nipper, and he's running for Secretary of State. So let's give him a big hand.